Hi everybody, welcome back. It's Mr. Malev here for episode 4. Today we're going to be doing a new and different project. And as you can see in my studio, I don't have traditional drawing and painting supplies set out. I've got a bunch of yarn and string and wires and even a pine cone. And I'm going to show you what we're going to be making out of this. And I'm going to introduce you to one of my favorite artists of all time. Her name is Judith Scott. And Judith Scott is an artist who was born with Down syndrome. Down syndrome is where, as a baby, you're born with an extra set of chromosomes. And having that in there makes things a little bit more challenging for you. Let me tell you a little bit about Down syndrome. People with Down syndrome can accomplish anything, even though things are harder for them. You may have seen pictures of cheerleaders with Down syndrome, or basketball players with Down syndrome, or even actors in TV shows with Down syndrome. People with Down syndrome can be the sweetest, kindest people you could ever imagine meeting. Now, Judith Scott was born with Down syndrome, but her twin sister Judith Scott was not. And as you can see in these photos, they were inseparable as babies. They would play together, they would hang out together, but as they grew, it began to become evident that something was a little different with Joyce. And what her parents had not realized was that as a very young baby, she had gotten a very scary illness called scarlet fever, which caused her to lose her hearing. So not only were things a little bit more challenging for her anyway, when she's trying to learn to read and to talk and things like that, but she didn't have the use of her ears. So her parents didn't know what was going on. All they knew was that she wouldn't listen to anything. She had all sorts of trouble learning, and they did not know what to do. Back then, schools could not handle children with special needs, so they sent her to an institution where she lived all by herself, unable to communicate, to talk, without her family near her. Her sister Joyce, when she grew older, took control of her guardianship, brought her over to California to live with her, and introduced her to a recreational facility. And it was there that she was able to discover her art form. She would take objects of various meanings and take various things to wrap them with, yarn, string, even tubes, and she would use this as her only way of communicating. She couldn't talk, she couldn't hear, but this is the way that she showed people how she felt. Now, I want you to imagine for a second that you were never able to communicate your needs with anyone. Okay, I know it's frustrating when I'm trying to explain to somebody something I need and they're not understanding, and I explain it again and they're not understanding. That is really frustrating to me. And I'm sure something like that happens to you too. Could you imagine never in your whole life being able to have somebody understand what you need because you couldn't talk or express yourself? That's what Joyce's life was like. Now, when she finally was able to start making her sculptures, and when she was finally able to express herself, it was like a whole new world was opened up to her. Because think about this, all of her wrapping sculptures, when do you wrap stuff? When you get a birthday present, that's wrapped, right? So wrapping could be a way to hide a surprise or bring happiness. When you cuddle up with your favorite blanket in a cozy way, that makes you feel warm and comforted. When somebody gives you a big bear hug, right? It makes you feel great. That's wrapping somebody's arms around somebody. When some types of food, sometimes your favorite foods, I don't know, my favorite food are burritos. So when those burritos get wrapped in the tortilla, that keeps it together and it has special meaning to me. So all of her wrapping sculptures can have a variety of different meanings, from hugging her sister to being safe or feeling safe in the world once she left that institution. These sculptures have deep meaning, and she's finally able to express what she wants to express in life. It was a great thing. Okay, now we are ready to make our sculpture. So, I found an object. This is a pine cone I got from a tree in my backyard. You could pick any object you want. An old toy, a rock, a piece of recycling. Anything is fine. Things that are bumpy work a little bit easier when you're doing the wrapping than smooth things, just so you know. So I have this pine cone. Watch how I do this. So I'm going to select some things to wrap it with. I have a varieties of different strings and other things to wrap with. You could wrap it with literally anything. Anything that's string-like or wire-like or cloth-like, even long grass that you find out in your backyard. Anything is fine. The things that have special meaning to you are the best though, okay? So here is what I'm gonna start with. A piece of purple string. This reminds me of my first grade daughter who loves purple. That's her favorite color. So watch how I do this. I'm gonna start by holding it down, and then I'm gonna hold it with my finger like this while I wrap it around. I could wrap it on top, I could wrap it on bottom, I could go left, I could go right. I'm gonna keep going until I've wrapped it enough with that color, and then I'm gonna switch it with a different one. Okay, I think that's probably enough purple. So now I'm gonna cut that one off and start a new one. Now, this one right here is a very soft yarn, and it reminds me of my stuffed animal I had when I was a first grader. It was a white monkey that I always loved. So this reminds me of that. So now I'm gonna wrap it here, and as I'm wrapping it, I'm gonna remember how much I love that monkey and how that monkey made me feel happy and safe every time I hugged him. Just like I'm wrapping this up like somebody's given a hug. All right, I'm wrapping it and I'm covering up a little bit of the purple, and that's okay. We're doing a multi-layered wrapping. If you remember in some of Joyce's sculptures, some of the first things got covered up. All right, now I'm gonna move on to some pink frilly stuff. My youngest daughter, who's 4, loves the show Fancy Nancy and all those books. And one thing Fancy likes is, look at this lacy stuff. That's fancy. So I'm gonna wrap this with some fancy pink string next. All right, oh, this is nice. It's already turning from a rough, scratchy pine cone into something that's softer, almost like a miniature Barbie pillow. Okay, oh, this is nice. Okay, now let's move on to some other things. The next thing I have here, oh, look at this. My third daughter, who is a 4th grader, loves to sew things. And she loves to take pieces of fabric and just sew things like Barbie clothes out of them. So I'm gonna take this piece of fabric and I'm gonna wrap my pine cone with it. Now, guess what? I can no longer see the pine cone, but that's okay. That's what you should be doing. All right, what's next? How about this scratchy, crinkly thing? That will give it a different texture, won't it? So I'm gonna add some of this scratchly gold foil that came off of a birthday present one time. And now I'm gonna do some black. This black color might remind me of my dog named Chip, who I used to have. But it also makes the design of my wrap sculpture even more interesting, because when you put a dark color like black next to a brighter color like gold, it really pops out. Now, because I've covered up all of my pink and purple, I might want to get a little bit more of that. So I'm going to get a little bit more pink, wrap it around here. I'll get a little bit more purple, wrap it around here. And then, once I have enough, oh, this is nice. Once I have enough, I'm gonna tuck in my last piece of string inside there, so I'm left with this beautiful thing. Now, it's got a lot of colors, it's got a lot of textures, it's got a lot of interesting parts to it, And nobody really knows what's inside of it unless you've watched this video, right? It could be an Easter egg, it could be a little toy. You and I know that it's a pine cone, but people who haven't seen this might not. The last thing I'm gonna do is do a quick 5-minute sketch of my wrapped sculpture, okay? I love this, this is really cool. And now I'm gonna draw a picture of it, trying to capture all the different bumps and shadows and textures as I can. I'm going to show this in fast motion, but when you do yours, you should do it slow.